Palantir deals with a fake, shocking $8.50 price target made in error this week, as well as signing more deals, showing more trailers, as well as articles, and so much more. Now, looking at the stock first, Palantir has climbed its way back to the $25 range. This was after being unable to maintain this area last week and even touching into the 26s. The interesting part about this range is that ever since the large run-up earlier this year, this has been a key area of resistance for the stock, so we'll continue to see what happens. Now, we get to start off the week with a shocking error of a fake downgrade from UBS for Palantir, slicing a price target from $44 to $8.50. So in my head, I immediately knew this was sus because UBS hasn't covered Palantir before, at least to my knowledge, and those price targets just don't make sense. Unless I must have missed something that was really old in history, but after some time later, we finally get the fix that this was meant for pltr shares with a price target of $8.50, so it's just a funny wake-up call to start the week. Then we covered Stephen Guilfoyle's interview on Fox Business, who recently put out one of the highest price targets for Palantir currently at $31. He continues to like Palantir's business and technology, as well as the narrative around what they can provide artificial intelligence in the industry. Now, the biggest note, though, is that he is still cautious on the valuation of Palantir when asked, so that risk is something that he keeps in mind that can make or break the company, especially if they're able to meet or exceed these expectations of growth or fall short, because without it, it will hurt the stock. Now, if you keep up with the daily videos, we've been covering a lot of Shyam Sankar, Palantir's CTO, this week, so I'll condense all of his stuff together here. First, he released a written opinion piece at the beginning of the week on rebooting the American industrial base, software, and the future of manufacturing. And this was basically about revitalizing the U.S. industrial base to ensure national security as well as economic safety, especially against adversarial countries like China, who are continually maintaining control over their own manufacturing as well as the sea trade routes that they have. So this piece came out around this time because of his speaking at the Reindustrialize event, and in my opinion was basically a huge sales pitch. They gathered all these industrial builders in the country and spoke to them about this narrative that was outlined in his opinion piece. And they played this mixed reality trailer in the background, which was actually cool in my opinion, that was also posted on X, showing Palantir is committed to mixed reality and becoming an actual useful tool for industry, as well as to show how these industry players can ramp up their own businesses. So I'm all for continuing to push their products and market them for some of the biggest players in the country and around the world to help U.S. geopolitical standing, but mostly for the economic strength. And then at the end of the week, Shyam Sankar also released another piece on his own website, shyamsankar.com, What Money Can't Buy. And this is kind of related, but more so focused and almost rant-like about the government's inability to use taxpayer money wisely and waste massive amounts of dollars, $230 billion from the examples that he gave. But he made sure to point out the vaccine rollout seemed to miraculously go through almost seamlessly. So with his opinion on fixing leadership and accountability for the government, the U.S. can stop wasting taxpayer money. Then Alex Karp also released a co-authored opinion piece on the Washington Post, Why American Tech Companies Need to Help Build AI Weaponry. We already know where Alex Karp and Palantir stands for in their mission for Western values to uphold, as well as militarily. And essentially, Karp continues to hammer on the point that software companies, the young workforce, need to repivot and accelerate stepping up to help develop innovation for the West, even in the defense sector. He always likes to compare Cold War times where the tech scene of Silicon Valley actually came about and was needed for the government to innovate, whereas today, we're just focused on making the next big consumer product and making a lot of money. And he put some big projects on blast that Palantir picked up, like Project Maven from Google. But most interestingly, he brought up the recent failures of Microsoft and their augmented reality headset deal with the DoD. So although he doesn't point out the big failure, missing that production product, that basically hitting the reset button on their $22 billion contract, so it's just speculation though on my part, but maybe Karp might be trying to finagle Palantir's way into this piece of a massive contract, but who knows? Then, Palantir put out an interesting demo with a literal game changer, and I'm referring to the game of cricket. For those who like to point out that phrase, might not be liked. Now, it's a 20-minute demo walking through how AIP can assist teams in putting together their ideal teams while trying to tie together data from all these players and other data points and optimize this. What I personally like the most about these kinds of trailers is, first, cricket is a widely popular sport in itself around the world and in some of the most populated countries like India, so this is more relevant maybe to the international business, but regardless, it's great to diversify your marketing. And then second, this is sports and pervasive everywhere where it can easily carry over to other activities. This application literally works for basketball, football, baseball, volleyball, you name it. And third, it's cool to put on an example that the everyday person can visualize and understand. So, not everyone thinks the same way, but sports is a pretty well known commonality and easy to understand example when it comes to metaphors. So, why couldn't it work for Palantir in showcasing their software? And then, really quick, too, we get another almost $2 million from the NIH, or National Institute of Health, for 1 year. As another government contract, it's always nice to see and a surprise when scouring the federal procurement website and seeing a recent contract obligation for Palantir. So, keep up the good work. Then we've got two partnerships very closely related. First being the Starlab space project that Palantir will be working alongside other strategic partners, and that's being the data and AI infrastructure out in space. Now, the noteworthy part to point out is Voyager Space amongst this list, whom just right after essentially put out their strategic partnership together with Palantir as companies specifically. So no doubt they will be working together already with that project, and really showcases, to me at least, these multi-collaborative projects can help open doors and prove to companies without needing to fully commit to the sole partnership to each other. They already had a memorandum of understanding, or MOU, signed back in February, so no doubt that they have experience together. But it definitely eases the jitters when you can point to actual data points working together and you build up that experience. So keep up the good work, Palantir, and hoping to see more future space partnerships and projects in the future. Then we've got Bank of America coming out again to reiterate their rating and price target for Palantir. This may or may not be a surprise to you, but they decided to keep their buy rating and $28 price target. Now, some may see this as a disappointment considering the recent price action and a possible motivation to raise their price target, but this is not the case. Now, the big fundamental part here pointed out by the analysts is that Palantir continues to ride the AI wave, and Bank of America believes that they are well positioned to benefit from this. On the defense end, they still like Palantir's recent win, like the next phase for the Titan contract, as well as being the prime on that win as a software company, even though it's a hardware project. And also, Palantir continues to benefit from the overall defense space considering non-traditional vendors, meaning the overall environment becomes more friendly for Palantir to win deals with the DoD. And this is compounded on Palantir just being able to position themselves as a software infrastructure play for the DoD to implement AI and make it useful. Now, on the commercial side, they also like this to see Palantir continue to grow because of legacy systems not meeting expectations for commercial customers, and Palantir can be a disruptor in the space and shows off how customers at these boot camps that they came up with can actually make a difference in their business and getting the value in hand. But not only that, Bank of America likes the expansion of their just general sales channels recently, with not only boot camps, but continued partnerships with key players, consulting companies as well, using their software to build this for their clients, and of course expanding within their existing customers. But you still can't forget the S&P inclusion here eventually down the line. But note, there was one crucial detail that they point out, that Palantir is still seeing little sales volume from the recent boot camps. 90% of Q1 2024's growth rate was driven by the expansion of existing customers already present around December of 2023. So even if they are bringing in new customer accounts, the amount of revenue they're seeing seems to be a bit low for Bank of America's taste. So they just point out wanting to see Palantir getting better conversion over time, at least when it comes to revenue from new customers. So Bank of America is still very bullish with their rating and price target for Palantir still at $28. But what are your thoughts though below? And we'll see you in the next video.